The people who work hardest often believe effort protects them until effort quietly becomes the reason they are exploited. That sounds backwards, but it explains why the dependable employee gets overloaded, sidelined, blamed faster, and cut with less resistance. You thought your value came from discipline, responsiveness, and results, but the system often treats those qualities like accessible inventory. Here is what actually happens. Once you prove you will carry weight, management stops protecting you and starts pricing you. Not your salary, your stamina, your silence, your tolerance for messy handoffs, unfair deadlines, and leadership confusion. The harder you work, the more invisible the exchange becomes, because everyone starts calling your sacrifice normal performance. That is the first punishment. Your effort starts looking exceptional the moment people reorganize their expectations around it. Miss one late night email after 6 months of heroics, and suddenly you seem less committed than everyone else. The person doing the minimum gets praised for stepping up once, while your baseline has already become unsustainably high. This is the part nobody warns you about. Consistency changes standards more than talent does. In most American offices, managers do not merely reward output, they manage bottlenecks, political risk, and workflow pain. If you remove pain for them, they rarely ask whether the arrangement is healthy for you. They ask a different question. Who can absorb more without forcing me into conflict, budget requests, or difficult staffing conversations? And the hard-working employee keeps raising a hand, fixing errors, covering vacations, calming customers, and rescuing deadlines. Not because they love abuse, but because competence creates a dangerous illusion. This person can handle one more thing. That illusion spreads through Slack messages, calendar invites, performance notes, and quiet assumptions made during leadership conversations you never hear. Soon, your name is not associated with potential, creativity, or leadership. It is associated with load-bearing. And load-bearing employees are rarely freed first. They are squeezed first because everybody else is already leaning on them. Here's the quiet part. Organizations punish what they depend on when dependency becomes cheaper than redesign. A healthy system would distribute pressure, document work, and protect reliable people from becoming operational shock absorbers. Most systems do the opposite, especially during reorgs, hiring freezes, surprise departures, and quarters obsessed with margin. When a company gets stressed, fairness usually shrinks before expectations do. That is why hard workers feel betrayal first. The second punishment is interpretive. Your extra effort gets translated into identity, not circumstance, and identity becomes obligation. If you stay late because the project is understaffed, leaders do not always see understaffing. They see dedication. If you answer weekend messages because your manager panics, they may not see dysfunction. They see responsiveness. Then performance reviews arrive and the story becomes dangerous. Your coping behavior gets written down as your natural standard. Now the emergency version of you is the official version of you, and anything lower reads like decline. What makes this worse is that your manager may sincerely believe they are complimenting you. They call you reliable, a rock, someone they never worry about. That sounds flattering until resources are allocated. The squeaky team gets head count. The fragile employee gets coaching. The dependable one gets another impossible deliverable. Because in many offices, support does not flow toward effort, it flows toward disruption, visibility, and perceived flight risk. The hardworking employee often makes the fatal mistake of reducing visible disruption while privately absorbing invisible damage. That can look like rewriting a coworker's sloppy deck at midnight, then joining the morning meeting smiling. It can look like fixing numbers before the director sees them, protecting your manager from embarrassment, then losing credit. It can look like mentoring new hires unofficially, documenting nothing, and wondering why leadership never sees your scope. Here's what actually happens. Work you rescue disappears from organizational memory, while problems you surface become political events. That means prevention is less visible than escalation, and quiet excellence loses to theatrical urgency in review season. So the hardworking employee creates stability, while the more political employee creates narrative. Guess who sounds more promotable? Promotions are rarely pure rewards for effort. They're bets about influence, leverage, and how other leaders already perceive you. If your reputation is built around execution only, people trust you to do the work, not redefine it. And that changes everything, because the promotion ladder is full of people escaping work by delegating it downward. Once leadership sees you as the one who always catches details, they fear moving you more than losing you. That sounds irrational until you remember managers are judged on short-term output, not on developing your long-term career. Your growth can threaten their convenience. Your promotion can create a vacancy. Your boundaries can expose their dependence. This is why some hardworking employees get weird feedback right when they start asking for more. Suddenly, they are told they lack executive presence, strategic thinking, polish, or collaboration, despite years of strong delivery. During calibration meetings, vague concerns spread fast because nobody wants to admit the indispensable person is simply underprotected. HR usually enters later, after the emotional weather has already changed and HR documents temperature more than truth. If your boss needs distance from promises they made you, process becomes the clean language of retreat. That is how hardworking employees end up on development plans that sound supportive but function like reputational containment. Sometimes it is not even a formal PIP yet. It is a pre-PIP storyline assembled quietly. A missed meeting here, a tone concern there, a leadership readiness comment dropped into your file for later. By the time you realize the mood changed, the record already exists, and your past loyalty cannot rewrite it. Those phrases are often not about skill gaps alone. They are negotiation language for controlling mobility. Here is the deeper problem. Hardworking people frequently mistake operational praise for real political sponsorship. Your boss saying, "I could not do this without you," may feel protective. Sometimes it is a warning. It can mean your value is trapped inside their survival, not attached to your independent credibility across the company. When layoffs come, this trap gets even darker. Hard work does not always protect the person doing it. Sometimes the hardest worker looks expensive, exhausted, narrowly specialized, or too tied to work leadership wants automated. Sometimes leaders assume the reliable employee will land somewhere else quickly, so they cut them with less guilt. Sometimes the quiet performer has fewer internal defenders because they spent years serving everyone instead of building alliances. And sometimes the company keeps weaker people because weaker people generate less disruption, less comparison, and less structural shame. That one stings, but it is real. A dysfunctional team often protects the people who make dysfunction look normal. The hardworking employee becomes a mirror nobody wants around, once budgets tighten and hard questions begin. Why were they carrying 3 rows? Why did nobody document that risk? Why was one person holding everything together? Removing that person can be cruel, but it can also erase evidence, and organizations sometimes prefer erased evidence. This is a part nobody says plainly. Merit matters, but only inside the boundaries politics allows. If you do excellent work without controlling perception, dependency grows faster than respect. Those are not the same thing. Respect can protect you, dependency can bury you. One expands options, the other turns you into infrastructure. Infrastructure is critical, but infrastructure does not get thanked when budgets shrink. It gets optimized, outsourced, or ignored. So what should a hardworking employee understand before the punishment becomes permanent? First, effort must be documented as impact. Not tasks completed, not chaos absorbed. Impact means decisions improved, revenue protected, risks prevented, and systems made less fragile. If you keep saving broken processes without naming them, leadership records your resilience and misses the organizational defect. Second, never let invisible labor remain invisible too long. Quiet competence needs visible framing or becomes exploitable. That means recap emails, project summaries, risk logs, and language that connects your work to business consequences. Not bragging, not theatrics, not self-promotion detached from substance, just making reality expensive to distort. Third, pay attention when praise comes without protection, autonomy, title movement, meaningful visibility, or resource support. That combination usually means leadership likes your output more than your trajectory. They want your labor, not your leverage. Fourth, stop proving loyalty by tolerating chronic dysfunction. Organizations often interpret tolerated dysfunction as acceptable operating design. When every fire gets solved quietly, nobody funds prevention. Your heroism can become the business case against change. Fifth, build lateral trust before you desperately need it, because isolated excellence is politically weaker than average connectedness. Coworkers, skip-level leaders, partners in finance, operations, or product. These relationships become witnesses when narratives turn. And narratives do turn, especially when reorgs begin and new leaders inherit reputations they did not personally observe. In that moment, your career is not judged by your effort. It is judged by the stories attached to it. If the story says tireless and helpful, that sounds nice, but it is weaker than trusted and strategically essential. Helpful people are appreciated. Essential people are negotiated with. There is a major difference between gratitude and leverage. This is why some hard-working employees feel crazy when they finally burn out and receive almost no meaningful response. They expected accumulated sacrifice to convert into protection. Instead, the organization treated that sacrifice like previously consumed inventory. From the company's perspective, yesterday's overextension is not a savings account. It is already booked. That is why resentment alone will not save you. Accurate interpretation has to come before strategic correction. You are not weak because this happened. You were likely trained to believe effort naturally creates fairness. But modern workplaces are not morality systems. They are pressure systems, perception systems, and resource allocation systems. Once you understand that, shame starts falling away. You stop asking why loyalty was not honored. You start asking who benefited from my predictability, who tracked my visibility, and who would defend my name. Those questions are colder, but they are cleaner, and clean thinking is how careers survive dirty systems. The goal is not becoming cynical or lazy. The goal is making sure your effort stops funding your own disposability. Work hard, but never let hard work be the only language your organization learns to speak about you. Because once they reduce you to effort alone, they can consume you, praise you, and replace you. And that is the final punishment. Not that you worked hard, but that your hard work erased your position. You were never failing because you cared too much. You were exposed because other people learned your pattern. The safest employee is not the nicest, busiest, or most exhausted. It is the one the system cannot misread. So remember the hidden rule underneath modern work. If your effort is infinitely available, your value becomes infinitely consumable.